Paula asked the congregation to fill out a card. This person did not put their name on it, so I get to read this. What do you want it to be in your life and for others? A touchstone as a reminder about what matters, what deeply works, and what is true. How do you want it to feel? Safe, loving, inclusive, warm, and real. How will you bless this space? With my presence, with my belief in the power of us. I like that. That was beautiful. Next, Paula asked me to find a prayer or reading, something that I felt was the appropriate message for today. So it took me a little while to find the right one, but a friend of mine posted this on Facebook this week, and it really spoke to me, so I hope it speaks to you. It's called The Let Her Be. Let her be confident, let her be brave. Let her know beauty is more than her face. Let her be strong, let her know her own mind. And for the most part, let life be too kind. But when it's not, when the days feel tough, let her know she's bolstered fiercely by love. Let her keep dreaming, awake or asleep. Let her know feelings do not make her weak. So let her be gentle, compassionate too, but let her be bold in her quest for the truth. Let the world listen whenever she speaks. Let her move mountains and dance at their peaks. Let her catch galaxies, comets, and stars. Let her ride moonbeams like rockets to Mars. No matter her stature, let her stand tall, and most important and vital of all, let her be happy and know her own worth. Know that sometimes she must put herself first. And let her be proud, be determined, and free to be anything that she chooses to be.
Just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call. To know, ain't it good to know you got a friend?
And today, I thought I'd start with what I first thought was a confession, but then I realized it wasn't a confession. It's a profession or a proclamation, which is this: I love drag. I love it. It is currently one of my favorite art forms. I mean, I may be like on the verge of obsession, right? Like I watch all the shows on TV. I go to drag brunch. I mean, a live performance with waffles thrown in, I'm there for it. I love the lights, the gowns, the camp, the humor, and I just have a genuine level of appreciation for how much creative energy and effort goes into each performance. Never mind the physicality of executing that number in a 25-pound beaded dress and 4-inch stilettos. Having grown up a dancer and in theater, there's an understanding of what that takes. Drag has its own language, culture, and fierce community. I just thoroughly enjoy it. And you might ask yourself, like, what does this have to do with absolutely anything? Or, where is she going with this? Paula may be thinking that right in this moment. And you might have guessed it, but today I feel like we are entering our spiritual era. And I am serving, in the words of RuPaul, some spiritual realness. You see, I found opportunity for awareness and self-practice in my experience of watching drag. In particular, the We're Here series on HBO. This show has incredibly moving stories of courageous humans across the country that ultimately are expressed through drag performances. Each show is a roller coaster of emotions. You laugh, you cry, you laugh again. But I realized there were tears during every show. So I stopped to take a look at why that was. And I realized at the moment, or moments, I burst into tears were at the time of reveal during a number. Right, so this is the point in a performance where usually a layer of costume breaks away to reveal an even more magnificent costume underneath, often smaller, and it's timed just so poignantly with the crescendo of the music, like it really creates this moment. And you can see it. You can see the most amazing flash of joy and empowerment. You can see it in the eyes of the performer. You can hear it in the crowd's roar. Because in that moment, that human has literally and figuratively peeled a layer and taken a step closer or tapped further into their authentic self, into an authentic expression of themselves. And being your authentic self has been quite the topic of conversation in our house lately. There was a moment of awareness which was brought into existence by my husband. Bless him, so grateful. I hate it when he's right. That perhaps at times I am so consumed with my task list that I am not my authentic self. In essence, not present. And I realized in that instant how I have been showing up or not for the last few months. You see, and I did not have a dress rehearsal, so we'll have to see how this goes. I added a layer. I concealed rather than revealed. I became my task list. I've been defining myself not only by the task itself, right? House cleaner, snotty tissue picker-upper, grocer, errand runner, dish fairy. And let me just tell you, I was quite dismayed by, there's no little ears in the room, right? I was quite dismayed by my children's reaction to my revelation to them that there was no such thing as the dish fairy, because it turns out they already knew. Just let me do the dishes. But I also realized I was shifting my behavior patterns based on showing up in a certain way, in a certain circumstance, right? So identifying with that role associated with the task. The perfect professional, the perfect wife, the perfect mom, the perfect daughter, all while sporting the I'm fine mask, right? Do we know this one? Right? Like there's extra lipstick, maybe a little tape. Fine, got this. Right? And doing that in order to please others or not let anyone else down, right? Because what would people think of me if I didn't? And after a while, that begins to build up and creates the illusion that we are something other than our authentic selves. Well, that opened up a big question, right? Who or what is my authentic self? The big who am I? This definition on the Center of Growth website really resonated. Being your authentic self means what you say in life aligns with your actions. Your authentic self goes beyond what you do for a living, what possessions you own, or who you are to someone, mom, brother, girlfriend. It is who you are at your deepest core. It is about being true to yourself through your thoughts, words, and actions, and having these three areas match each other. So congruence of thought, word, and deed. And I'm pretty sure Reverend Richard Levy at one time coined that the definition of integrity. But maybe your authentic self goes beyond that definition, beyond thought, word, and deed. Because we are not those tasks or deeds. We are not our professions. We are not whether or not we like chocolate ice cream over vanilla or long walks on the beach. We are divine love. So maybe the authentic self isn't identifying with a condition or preference. Maybe it's the experience or the journey of the I am. Like strutting down a catwalk, periodically shedding layers of illusion, and taking steps closer to the moment that we step into all that we are. And then I wondered, because this is how my mind works, unfortunately, is that like the pasty levels of our costume? Or is that the full Monty? Right? And then I realized spiritually we probably only achieve the full Monty once we transition from our physical bodies. But perhaps in order to achieve realization of our authentic self, we have to let go of the distractions, of the identifications. I mean, really these tasks and other conditions we identify with, or at least I know I identify with, are merely the world's largest ball of twine or the world's tallest thermometer on the road of life. In Hindu thought, the authentic self is known as Atman, right? The true self of each individual, which is at one with the divine, Brahman, or the absolute. So essentially, my authentic self, your authentic self, peeled to its core, is our divine self, is divine love. They are the same, just expressed in our own ways. And somehow, contemplating the big question with all the thoughts and noise in my head, the universe, all the while, was quietly affirming for me, gently nudging me to remember. So a few weeks ago, I stopped into a store to get a thank you gift. And of course, I was going down my task list. Nothing makes me happier than checking something off, right? So I was like, okay, there's a store. I think it'll have the perfect gift for my friend. It's on the way to her house. I can stop there, and then I can make it to the other side of town to get, pick up the kids, do the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And I had been there before, but it's not somewhere that I go frequently or regularly. And when I was checking out, I could see the edge of a bird tattoo peeking out from the cashier's shirt. And I can be pretty introverted and pretty socially awkward, so normally I would have just gotten my stuff, got into my car, gotten on to the next task. But for some reason that day, I stopped and I asked about her tattoo. And sure enough, she pulled up her sleeve and she revealed a magpie on her arm. And so for me, the magpie is very significant in my life. It was a part of my spiritual name that was given to me on my 40th birthday. And the bird's name was Rigel. And Rigel is one of the brightest stars in the sky. It is a part of the constellation Orion. A nudge to remember who we are. And again, because my brain works in the way it does, of course there's typically music playing in there. And I heard Joni Mitchell. We are stardust. We are golden. And we have to get back to the garden. To the garden. Right? And so in picking books off the shelf for inspiration, and this is a hot mess. I mean, I'm sitting in front of my bookshelf just pulling books off, opening pages, and seeing what shows up, right? So one of these was this book called The Snow Leopard by Peter Matheson. And our friend from college let me borrow this book many, many years ago. I have been trying to give him this book back for about 10 years. He will not take it because I needed it. It just took a long time to get there, right? So this book is the story of two field biologists who in 1973 traveled through the mountains of Nepal to study the Himalayan blue sheep and perhaps catch a glimpse of the elusive snow leopard, right? And how this evolved into a spiritual quest. But I opened pages and one word kept popping out to me. And that word was Shambala. Right? And Shambala is a mythical Buddhist kingdom that is said to exist somewhere between the Himalayan mountains and the Gobi Desert. Right? And this is a place where in Tibetan Buddhist belief system, all citizens have achieved enlightenment. So it's Tibetan Buddhist perfection, the embodiment of that. It's the Garden of Eden. It's the garden of our authentic or divine selves. And so I have a tendency to also play music while I'm working. It's essential for me. And as my phone was working through my playlist, the song Shambala by Three Dog Night played. And there's a line, see, I'm losing my tasks already. And there's a line in the chorus that brought all of these thoughts about the authentic self home. How does your light shine in the halls of Shambala? How does your light shine? In that place of experiencing the I am, how are we being? What are we doing in those moments? And the universe just cracks me up sometimes because the song that followed was Find Your Way Back by Jefferson Starship. So talk about a nudge. That one was more like a punt. So those drag reveals, that instant where that individual embodiment allowed their light to shine. Because drag isn't about creating a character that you're pretending to be. It's about unleashing and naming who you really are. So I'm a very rubber meets the road kind of person, right? I can think about all these things, but ultimately I need a practice to put into place in my life. And so this is what came to me. How we can practice stepping more into our authentic selves, right? So we can choose to pause, be present, let go of conditions, opinions, and judgments outside of ourselves, although sometimes those are really inside ourselves. Reveal who we are. Again, no dress rehearsal. All that, no rehearsal. Because we are divine love. And then we have the opportunity to shine our light for ourselves and for others. So maybe we begin to notice and observe in our lives where we do feel that light shining. Where do you feel that spark within yourself? When do we feel alive? And allow more of that. For me, is it when I sing? Is it when I'm with my kids or my husband? When I'm going to drag brunch? Yes. All of the things. But now we can approach them with an awareness of self. So for me, it becomes not just drag me to brunch, but drag me to Shambala with waffles. So in the words of the great RuPaul, don't see yourself from outside of yourself. See yourself from inside yourself. Because when you go outside of yourself, you're not in the moment. So now may we take this opportunity to practice doing just that, being in the moment. And perhaps you begin to feel your feet on the floor. Feel the support of the chair underneath you. And perhaps your eyes begin to flutter closed. Maybe even taking a moment to allow your eyeballs to just drop back from the eyelids. And perhaps you begin to see and draw your awareness to the third eye, that space between the brow. Perhaps you see your light there, beginning to shine. And just take notice of that light. Does it have a color, a smell? How does it feel? And just stay here with your light as we move into the silence. wrote, "Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense." And in the words of my Guruji, Reverend Richard Levy, whose light shines as bright as Rigel, practice well, practice deeply. It's not just for yourself, but for the benefit of all beings everywhere.